wait. Ha ha ha. Sounds like something you do.
I wasn't sure what I was thinking till that last sentence.
Whee! Hey guys.
The Discovery Tube since 1971. And from this angle, folks, you can see that beautiful orange wheel hanging off the first stern. And that's not a little village like the one I taught in. The only way in or out 6 months out of the year was through a little plane like that. Maybe you'd go a bit bigger, a 6 or an 8-seater, but there was a turn. This is something these pilots practice. They kind of just turn sideways and corkscrew down out of the sky. They're able to make a very quick descent because you don't always have room to make a nice gradual landing. Sometimes you've got tall trees in the way. But it helps them quickly line up with the river, get down in a hurry, but they also lean into that turn and manage to reduce their forward airspeed as they get down close to the ground, or in this case, the water. As they get down here close to the water, they're going nice and slow. They just kind of hang it out to dry here. Can't actually see the river at this point, just operating off instinct and experience, and go for a nice, gentle touchdown, and hardly any splash on that too. And we have a lot of very talented pilots up here, folks. 1 in 78 Alaskans is actually licensed to fly. That doesn't include me. But I'd like for you to get a chance to meet our pilot over here, so I'm going to see if I can fly. Weighs about 1,100 pounds. What looks like sheet metal around the outside is actually fabric that's stretched across a frame made of hollow metal tubing. Despite only weighing 1,100 pounds, that whole plane can carry 700 pounds of cargo. Makes an airdrop from one of these in a remote part of our state extremely important. And there's a whole network of these little planes flying all around our state. Horsepower engine again. And I want you to take a look at their wake, because once they get themselves lined up and get that engine fired up, you can see they barely need more than the length of Discovery 3 to get themselves airborne. And send it through pipelines up over these hills to our right, where they go to a hydraulic placer mine in the next valley. And they don't do that anymore. That style of mining kind of died out in the 60s, so they've converted to a nice restaurant saloon. They don't pump much water these days, just a bunch of beer after 5 p.m. I'll show you folks some pictures and kind of talk about this area, because back in the day, people would place orders for goods and freight to come up the Alaska Railroad system, but that ended here in Fairbanks. So for goods that had to go elsewhere, they would get brought to this boatyard and loaded up on barges. And then these stern wheel boats would push those barges down the Chena River. Good morning, Dave.
Well, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Trailbreaker Kennel, and it's wonderful to be able to have you guys all come visit today, especially on a nice, cool, I'm going to call it fall morning. I saw a couple of golden-colored leaves there, so fall's on its way. Our fixes, and they want to follow us in adventures, which is a perfect opportunity for us to help them develop their, which we do by challenging them to overcome obstacles. Now today, the obstacles are walk along these rocks down by the river. You know, sometimes they haven't done it before, and they're a little unsure of what happens. So that we'll always be there to help them if they don't want to get stopped, and that pays big, big dividends. We're out of the trail together with them later on in life.
Well, Dave, I can see these guys are already starting to kind of run, and it looks like they can almost outpace your trainers here. And I know these get big quick. It won't be long before they can just step right over these logs and handle everything you've got in the yard. How do you keep working with them as they get older?
Well, you know what, if they're kind of noisy today, sure, I'll pull us up before we want to go. I'm going.
It's just a shame these dogs don't seem more excited about this. Well, there we go. He gives them the command, and away they go.
It really has meant the most to me over these last share the story of Susan and Grant with other families. What always touches me is how much kids will identify with him.
The Trailbreaker Kennel, and of course, thank you dogs. Isn't it just so great getting to see these dogs do what they love, folks? You know, for me, it kind of puts something like the NBA or the Tarantus. And the domesticated variant you see right here is the reindeer. But they're only a slightly different subspecies from their wild cousins, the caribou. And the caribou are a very important ones, the same evolutionary traits, which is why we like to trot them out and show them off. Because I want to talk about those, starting with their coat, which you notice right now in their summer coat is this kind of beautiful chocolate. Delina, I'm really excited to kind of learn about every aspect of this. Before we get into the salmon, can you tell us about some of these different buildings and structures behind you?
Yeah, of course. So the fish camp you see here is very similar to what you see along the Yukon or Canada River throughout the summer months. Each summer, families pack up and move about 30 miles away from their family village to their family's respective fish camp. My family's village fish camp is 20 miles off the river. On the centerpiece to every fish camp is the fish reel. It is the efficient fish catching machine that allows us to catch enough salmon to provide for our families and dog needs throughout the winter months. Back on shore is our campus ball pens, and that's where we would stay each summer. Right next to it is our air dry rack, and that's where we hang our salmon before it goes into the smokehouse. Now the smokehouse is that structure behind me. It is key to turning the salmon into a fully preserved food source. And after it's done smoking, we put it in cache, which is the structure up on stilts. And it's up on stilts, so the animals getting into it. And you see the boxes over there, and between the wall strips, that's where the dogs can stay. We always bring dogs to fish camp. We have a single run of the king and silver, and 2 runs of the chum. And since the chum is a slightly lesser quality salmon, we get 2 runs of it. We usually reserve this for the dogs. And what I've started here is the basic dog food cut. I've cut off the head, separating the 2 plates from the backbone, and I leave it connected at the tail so I can take it off the air dry rack. Now there's still a little bit of meat left in the backbone, and since nothing is ever wasted in my culture, we would give this to the dogs here at fish camp. And if this were a head of a hard quality salmon, we would make fish head soup and serve it to our elders because it's considered a delicacy.
Okay, Delina. Fish head soup. I'm curious, what does that taste like?
I don't know, Skylar. I'm not old enough.
I'll check back with you here about 40 years? 50 years.
50 years.
Delina, what is it that you're doing with the fillets right now?
Well, right now I'm scoring the salmon, which is making diagonal cuts through the flesh out of the skin. And this actually creates more surface area so the smoke can burn deeper into the salmon, further dehydrating it.
Okay. You can see how that kind of opens up. That's what gives it those line appearances when you hang them. You can see how they really help the smoke kind of get in there deep. When you're done with the scoring, do you think you can hold it up so we can take a look?
Yeah, of course.
Thank you. And so folks, this will be a good thing to take a picture of. This is what gives it that really unique kind of lined appearance down the salmon themselves. And they cut it at that angle so that once they hang it up by its side, those kind of fold open. If you cut them straight in, you don't get quite the same surface area and airflow that you're looking for. It's beautiful.
Get the salmon into the smokehouse because I'm old. So I'm just going to hang it on the air drying rack until it gets a nice sheener glaze, and then it will go into the smokehouse.
Oh, don't point that out to me. She just pointed out a fox pelt. More sad. Mean.
Felt can be used to make a full winter parka, most often worn by men. The lynx are closely related to the bobcat and are known for their black-tipped ears, their cute, stubby little tails, and their big, fluffy paws used for bounding across the surface of the winter snow. Now this next one is the wolverine. Now the wolverine was highly prized for a couple of reasons. First, there's a natural oil in its fur that prevents your breath from sticking to it in the cold winter air. That's made it ideal for lining the inner part of the ruff of a winter parka. Also, the wolverine is a very cunning and ferocious animal, so only the best and luckiest trappers came home with this prize. In fact, I am told that if a wolverine and a bear were to meet each other, coming opposite directions on the same path, then it would be the bear who would graciously step aside first. Now, these next four are all foxes. Here we have the red fox, the silver fox, and the cross fox. Now, these animals are very abundant in the interior, and it is not uncommon to find all three in the same litter. One at the end is the Arctic fox. They are found in the northern parts of Alaska above the Arctic Circle. As you can see, this is winter coat. In the summers, however, won't be nearly so pretty. They tend to be more of a mottled brown in order to camouflage. And these little guys are the ermine. They're also in their winter coat, which is white with a black tip to tail. In the summers, these two become a nice chocolatey brown, but then we just call them weasels. We also have another nickname for them here, but first I have to ask, is anybody visiting us today from Texas? Oh, a few. Well, hello, and welcome to the big state of Alaska, where we like to playfully refer to these as our Texas-sized polar bears. This area we have here is what an ancient Athabascan camp would have looked like before any contact with the outside world. Anthropologists tell us that they followed herds of game in order to provide for their families. This meant roaming the Arctic, constantly on the move, and caribou and moose were the primary animals that they hunted. Now the reindeer you see here are the domesticated relatives to the caribou. Caribou are wild animals. While caribou travel in herds, moose are solitary, tending to travel alone. Thus, the Athabascan hunters had to become skilled at calling these animals. One way is by taking the shoulder blade from a previous kill and scraping it up and down a tree, like our friend Bethany will demonstrate for us. Wow, isn't she a skilled hunter? A little grunting sound. Would you folks like a demonstration? Yeah, sure. Here, Moosey, Moosey, Moosey. Now, once the moose had been drawn to the area using the real mating call, the hunter would then provoke them to charge using a bone-tipped spear and then plant it at a steep angle. Now, Bethany is modeling an Athabascan Yukon-style women's winter parka, and it is all traditional, except for the big zipper running down the front. That we just have that there base because it has that natural oil in it that would help prevent frostbite. Any leftover pieces would be sewn on in tassels like these, which are wolverine tipped in timberwolf. Now they would sew this on to show that her man was a skilled hunter. He caught that tricky wolverine. Now, beadwork designs and skin sewing techniques will be passed down mother to daughter, generation after generation.
Of me eating 22 Big Macs and then running a marathon, so they're eating a lot. I'd say they're probably going to be taking in a pound, maybe a pound to a pound and a half. So a lot. And then as it gets older, we're going to feed them more, so it's keeping more calories and they're going to stay warm. And then as it warms up, we're going to cut it back so they're not blowing up like balloons and that. Yes, it's a really great option. It's really good for hydrating. And also meat that we process ourselves, so moose, caribou.
You're doing something with your phone.
So let me just catch you guys up. So we're in this room and we're struggling to turn on the side light, the bedside light, and so it was delayed, but it turned on, and then all of a sudden the overhead light turned off. 10 minutes passed, and then all of a sudden the fan's now moving, and then the light just came back on. I should tell you about the Wendigo. So cool. It's like a movie.
rail, and they would be transported out here to the spruce forest just ahead of us on the left. You might catch glimpses of big masses of sticks in these willows here, and it's most like a gully here. Kind of look and see how big those leaves are, and then look around. There's nothing. There it is right here.
Hey, little guy.
And see, he's right next to his burrow. There's a hole right there, right behind him. And they chirp, yeah. And so these ground squirrels, they're about 1,000 calories for a hungry grizzly bear, kind of like a squirrel McNugget. And they live in these burrows, and the bear comes along, and it'll run down in the burrow. Oh, where'd it go? Should be right in here somewhere. I might have to find it with my binoculars again. There it is, got it.
There he is.
This one's way blind.
Gotta be hard to walk or run with those things.
Yeah.
Try again here. And then, so one went over the ridge too when I first pulled up.
I think I got some of these pictures.
Follow him.
Very, very, very fine particles, finer than talcum powder. So that glacial silt will run along every rivulet, every creek, every stream, every river, and it will all end up in Elmendorf-Richardson, which is
Just for a second, prior to the daily performance, I'm going to hand out the ones I have, but I need to know you already have one if it was sent to your house. Thank you. So what you're going to do, just do something. Thank you, we figured it out.
that they try to extract the person from the glacial silt without tearing off their legs. So ladies and gentlemen, next comes the rail bed right here. So we have arrived in Whittier.
Look at the glacier
Formerly
there.
military installation. You are looking at the Majestic Princess, and she is docked at the port. This is a fjord. We'll be going out on a sea kayak for a camping trip for 1 or 2 weeks in Prince William Sound. We'll be going on a tour boat. We'll be going out on a cruise ship or a pleasure boat. This is the place to come for your beginning adventure in Prince William Sound. There are 200 residents that live here, as I mentioned before. all living in the baby towers, and all looking for fresh, new blood to inhabit that shade. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Majestic Princess. And we are surrounded here by the Chugach Mountains. And as you can see, they are still, if one can see the top, well-rounded rather than jagged. So they too have been tamed by glaciers over thousands of years. You are headed to southeast Alaska. That is no longer the home of the Dena'ina Athabascans, but rather a different group of Alaska natives who have been here for 10,000 years and have thrived. That is the home of the Eeyuks, the Shimshons, the Tlinkits, and the Haidas. And at the different ports that you attend or go to, you will see traces of their lives, and you will see, possibly, have experiences where you will see demonstrations. On behalf of Brennan and Katie and our onboard manager, Tony, and especially on behalf of Princess, I want to thank you very much for choosing to see what's over the horizon, for choosing to see what's around the bend, for choosing to spend your time and your money going into the interior of Alaska and helping our local economy. Whether it's someone who comes up from Arkansas, such as Brennan, for the summer to work and earn money, or it's local residents such as Katie and me, we appreciate your presence, your time, and we are hopeful that you will enjoy the shows, your accommodations, the cuisine, and the experiences that you have with your friends and family here, and the new friends that you make. A lifetime that you are finally able to take. It's been a joyful experience to be with you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your presence.
Our room is so cool.
It is so beautiful.
Got that?
Mm-hmm.
That's what's coming to picture
My view's not as good because of the glare,
the
but
deck, yeah.
very cool. Don't know if you can see it. Got tons of ice. I didn't get to go see the glaciers, but I can kind of see them. Yeah, sadly they didn't have any wheelchair access for me to get up to the glaciers, and that's where everyone else is, so... Oh well. Iceberg. Cool. That's the Zodiac. Wait. Not all of them.
Not a spot without mountains here.
Those mountains are very detailed.
Mm.
The water's gorgeous. Whoa. Wow. Oh my god. You want to be out here when it's 30 degrees?
I don't know.
And then those walls will help.
Where'd you go? There you are. Mom would have a fit.
I know. I just say, can maybe up in the trees. Yay.
I can fly.
Her chair has wings.
Hi guys.
That would be fun. Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's like a tree course.
Yeah.
I saw those in Mexico.
Wow.
Oh, you're so fluffy.
At least we did it, and we know.
We did it. We had fun. And we're off. Meow. Bye-bye. Bye.
And you look up and somebody with a desk knob right here.
And the next person up is called a trammer. Their primary job is to move rock. Okay, folks, this mine is a very, very old mine, okay? They started this mine in the early 1800s, okay? And it kept going up until the beginning of World War II. When the government needed manpower, they closed the mine down. Both levels, okay, and that. Okay, folks, but we call this here our pretty wall, right here, okay? And that. This is a quartz vein. Now, quartz and gold are like magnets, they attract each other, okay, and that.
All right, is everyone ready? All right, we're gonna take our pan just like this, we're gonna fill it up with water, and we're just gonna shake it back and forth. What this is doing is you're loosening your material in your pan to let that gold sink down to the bottom. Now I'm gonna demonstrate what not to do, so please do not do this. Please do not shake your dirt out because you're gonna lose your gold. What we're gonna do instead of that is we're gonna stop shaking, tilt it to the side to let that water run off. Then we're gonna leave it at an angle just like this, dip it in the water, and just move it back and forth about 2 to 3 times to let that top layer of material come off. So you can go, like I said, you can just shake it back and forth just like that. And then we're gonna repeat this process. So after you've done that, we're gonna fill it up with water, and we're gonna shake it. Stop shaking, tilt it to the side, dip it in the water, and then move it back and forth about 2 to 3 times to let that top layer of material come off. I'll go on this side.
Nugget in there.
Got a nugget. You're filling water up. You want to leave it at an angle.
What's that one thing? Yeah. Here? Yeah. Different orange.
Anybody else would
Pacific. Now, within this portion of the talk, I'll be telling you specifically about the Tlingit people. And the reason I stress this
precious chance, I'll gather up my best and make some sense at last. This is the moment when all I've done, all of the dreaming, scheming and screaming become one. This is the day.
Dressant sous des maisons aînées, mes chansons, mes refrains, mes chansons, mes But I feel like a storm is coming if I'm gonna make it through the day. And there's no more use in running. This is something I gotta face. If I risk it all, could you break my fall? When you're not here, I'm suffocating. I feel love run through my blood. Tell me, is this where I give it all up? How do I live? How do I breathe? When you're not here, I'm suffocating. I wanna feel love run through my blood. Tell me, is this where I give it all up for you? I have to risk it all.
Ladies and gentlemen, please make some noise for the cast and company of Encore! Please keep the applause going for the majestic Princess Orchestra!
If she doesn't make 2 or more, our VIP host guest will walk away with the champion of Big Bang and a life-changing prize. Now, madam, In the hole, but before you go, wait, stay right there. Breathe in. Breathe out. Everybody, let's breathe in for breathe in. And out. Let it breathe. Okay, you ready? You ready with that? The future lies on you. He's watching. He's scared. He's very scared because he knows you could do it. For the life-changing prize and the championship of Big Bag Champion in the hole. Bag number 1. There we go. That's good. We're looking good. We're looking good, right? We're looking good. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Don't rush it. You have all the time. We have until Vancouver to finish this game. So, Madam, wait. Focus. Focus. Breathe. There you go. There you go. In the hole. In the hole. Come on. There you go. In the hole. 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 Let's go. In the hole. In the hole. In the hole.